Okay, so I'm just trying to share my screen. Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Emma Pedavoah. My co-presenter is Jemima Anderson. And this is our topic. We are looking at COVID-19, a tool for power and dominance in the hands of politicians, a critical discourse analysis of President Nanado's update speeches. That's our outline. These are the things we want us to quickly look at. So COVID-19, the pandemic, as we all know, by 30th January, the World Health Organization had declared COVID-19 as a new strain of deadly virus and a public health emergency of international concern. And Ghana recorded, Ghana's first case came in by the 12th of March. Ghana had recorded the first 2 cases. And so the government tried to respond, and the president took it upon himself to ensure the protection of the citizens of Ghana by implementing restrictions. And these restrictions in a lot of ways, or in a lot of ways, denied the people of their sovereign rights and fundamental human rights. The Ministry of Health in Ghana has done a great job by educating the general public on the virus, its nature of spread, preventive measures, and whatever the people need to know about the virus. The response from the people has been generally cooperative, and the people have generally shown cooperation with the government and with the Ministry of Health in Ghana. But what's the problem? The problem here is that in the government's efforts to educate the people and help prevent the spread of the virus, there are hidden strategies in the language that has been used in educating the people on the virus, and these point to issues of power and dominance. And so the objective of this study, of our study, is investigating the linguistic strategies that have been employed by the president to enact power and dominance in communicating the COVID-19 messages to Ghanaians. And we also hope to be able to unveil the hidden agenda the president has incorporated in his COVID-19 messages. Our research questions, we want to answer critical questions such as what's the hidden strategies of enacting power and dominance, and what hidden strategies and enacting power and dominance have been employed by the president in his COVID-19 messages, and what hidden messages are in the president's speeches. So there's been work done already. There's been work by Mashoud and Elahe, and they have looked at how language incorporates power and ideology. It's also been studied by the issue of ideology has been also studied, looking at how pronouns have been used. This has been done by Nnamdi Eruchalu. The issue of ideology has also been in 2020 by Marfero and Trayono. And they have looked at political ideology as issues that underlie speeches by looking at the personal pronouns that have been used in the speeches. Iqbal et al. 2020 applies socio-political analysis to the study of Premier Imran Khan. His updates on COVID-19, and they point out that there are stable linguistic features that persuade the minds of the people, convincing them to follow the precautionary measures as the only cure. Now, the present study follows a similar trend and wants to see what is happening in Ghana as the president continues to update the people of Ghana on the virus, the COVID-19 virus. So it looks at, focuses on the use of personal daisies and other linguistic elements to unravel the hidden strategies employed in the COVID-19 update speeches delivered by the president of Ghana. The framework, we are looking at Fairclough's critical approach and Van Dijk's socio-cognitive approaches to discourse analysis. And with the cognitive approach, we are looking at the fact that there's a that Van Dijk brings a cognitive dimension to the study of the issue of power, and that it emphasizes the control, that control goes beyond, the physical control, but that society's mind, can be controlled, looking at how language is used, and that manipulation and dominance are channels, persuasion are channels through which power and dominance are enacted. We also fall on Fairclough's three-dimensional model to be able to describe, interpret, and explain the data, and also to also be able to bring out the hidden strategies, as we have already mentioned. So the data and our methods, we are looking at mainly two speeches of relevance to our study. And even though the president has delivered many speeches, two speeches are relevant to our study. And the first one is the 27th of March speech that imposed a partial lockdown on two places that were described as epic centers, that's Greater Accra and then Greater Kumasi metropolitan areas. Now, in the president's lockdown speech, the president elaborates on the need for people to stay at home, people to adhere to the restrictions to ensure that the spread was reduced to the barest minimum. Now, in lifting the partial lockdown, the president gave another speech, and that was on the 19th of April. Now, the 19th of April speech aimed at, lifting the restrictions and allowing people once again to live to some extent a normal life, normal as in be able to go to their workplaces and do other very important things that need to take them away from home. So our data collection, mainly our data collection was done manually and also with Microsoft Word search. So we looked at, we carefully read through the speeches, carefully and thoughtfully read through the speeches, the two speeches, and with the help of Microsoft Word Word search, we identified the items that were of relevance to our study. Now, the sample size, as I've already said, is from the two speeches. Now, the first speech had as many as as many as 2,343 words, and then the second speech had as many as 3,755 words. As I've already said, we use manual search, and we also use Microsoft Word search. Now, the linguistic items that are of relevance to the study were looked at by we extracted and analyzed them in terms of words, in terms of sentences, and in terms of paragraphs, looking at them in relation to the social and political context within which they were produced, and and how they are representative of the discourse and also looked at them in terms of CDA, how relevant they are to the discourse of CDA, and we interpret them according to the tenets of CDA and that of Fairclough and Fairclough's approach, three-dimensional approach. So in doing that, we want to just share our analysis. So we just took a few of our sample data to share with you. Now we found that the use of the personal basis, a pronoun like the first person plural, we was used so many times in the speeches, and mainly the we here showed inclusiveness. So another use we throughout the speech to indicate group membership. By this choice of an inclusion, we, the empowered, and by this choice of an inclusive we, he empowered and giving authority. He's empowered and giving authority, to speak to other members of his government and on behalf of the, irrespective of one's political and religious ideology. Now, let's look at this example. Thus far, we have succeeded in halting any more importations of the virus into our country. Now, in this context, he was talking about having closed the borders of Ghana to other countries. And he uses the we, so that the impression here is that he's not just referring to his power that has been used to close the borders, but that it is all of us, all Ghanaians inclusive, that this has been done. Then also we have the use of I. It's also quite dominant in his speeches, but he uses I in such a strategic way that it doesn't really single him out as the one enacting power, or but that's he's doing this in a way to protect the nation, to protect the people, and so the people have a duty to submit themselves and subject themselves to whatever stringent measures he's putting on them or restrictions he's putting on. So he says, I have come to your homes once again as promised on the matter which continues to give not only the attention of the nation, but also of the entire world. So he's, and this is an entry of a sort, and this cultural, looking at the nature of our culture, you just don't barge into people's homes, but then you want to give a good reason why people should find you in their homes, especially in the situations where the president had to come with updates as often as was needed. So he endears himself to the people by doing so. And we have the second example. Fellow Ghanaians, the oath of office I swore on 7th January 2017 demands that I dedicate myself to the service and well-being of you. So it's not so much about he enacting power, and dominance, but that whatever he's doing is for the good of the people. And he continues to say, it is my job to protect you, and I am determined to do just that. So determined in itself would mean he's not ready to budge. This is what he wants to do, and he's going to do it anyway, irrespective of the effect on the people. However, he puts it in a way that makes the people accept it as a fact that it's to their benefit. The second person is used to distance the speaker. That's what it normally does. But Nanado is very strategic, and he uses the you to rather bridge the gap between himself and the people. I dedicate myself to the service and well-being of you, the Ghanaian people. So not just you, but he defines the you and he makes it the Ghanaian people. So he is just an individual who is sort of sacrificing, himself to serve the Ghanaian people, and that makes it look. The people have to be appreciative of whatever strict measures he's putting on them. It is my job to protect you, and I am determined to do just that. Fellow Ghanaians, we are in this together, and government will stand by you. We are aware that there will be discomfort and difficulties for all of us over the next couple of weeks, so inclusive. But it's quite obvious that in situations like this, while some people are restricted, others, like himself, the president, and his ministers are still free to move about. So our findings, we find out that the president tried to put himself at the level of his audience so that his hidden message of a call for obedience can be well received. Power and dominance are enacted through linguistic choices in the words and sentences he uses. So we also realize that there are a variety of personal pronouns used in their strategic placement in the president's speeches point to a hidden agenda to enact power and dominance over the Ghanaian people in the face of the pandemic. Conclusion, we conclude that the president called for obedience rather than awareness, and that instead of appealing for solidarity in the face of the pandemic, he appealed to the patriotism of the citizenry, thus enacting power and dominance. There is the opportunity for constitutional rights of the people to be denied in the bid to protect them, and this clearly stated in Van Dijk's approach to CDA. The study argues that COVID-19 starts as a tool for enacting power and dominance in the hands of politicians, and for that matter, the president of Ghana in the face of the pandemic. The variety of personal pronouns used in their strategic placement in the discourse shows that the president understands that the people demand of him accountability, integrity, and discipline from him as a leader, though he goes on to enact power anyway. And that's the end of our presentation. It's work in progress, and we look forward to your comments, your feedback to firm up this paper. Thank you.